Testing, testing.
Hello.
Good morning.
It's good to see you.
Shabbat shalom. Good to see you too.
Shalom.
How have you been?
Good.
Good.
Yourself?
Good. Thankfully.
Enjoying the heat?
Yeah. How about you?
Absolutely.
You got your pool working?
Yes.
Perfect. Oh, was I supposed to bring up folders? I didn't see.
I think it's not working again.
What is it? You have the outlines up here, don't you?
Yeah.
You have the service outline up here?
No. Where are they?
That's what I was wondering. Okay, because she used to leave them on Bonnie's desk, so I'll go see if they're there.
Okay, thank you. If she's not there, it should be.
I'll check Stacy's desk next. I know the usual places.
This is from yesterday.
Hello, Alice. Shabbat shalom. Hi, Bill. Hello, Tracy. Hi, Jerome. Shabbat shalom to all of you. Whew. See the numbers going up really quickly. Nice to see. Yeah, I might have missed a few messages before Alice's message because I just turned on the chat app. So I apologize for that. Hi, Terry. Rabbi Leibel. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi.
Hi, Leon. Welcome. Shabbat shalom.
You ready? Where's Leslie?
She went for the folders. I'm not even sure what they are. I know that we say that every time, but because I never pick it up, I don't pay attention. It's all good.
Let's do it.
Hi, Lori. Are you with Israel there? Hi, Yerach. Shabbat shalom from Orlando. Right? Yes. Hi, Marvin. Hi, Sandy. Yehuda.
Ani. Ani.
Thank you. Let's begin with our service. Hinematov, how great it is to be together, united in prayer. Page 4 of the Sidurim, which, by the way, you can download from our website, www.ezwinnipeg.ca. Hinematov umanayim shevet hachim gam yachad. 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 Hine ma tov 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 umanayim shevet hachim gam yachad. Good morning, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Hi, Leslie. Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Rabbi Leibel. Welcome.
Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And everybody who's watching online, it's great that you decided to tune in into Shari Zedek Synagogue this morning. It's a great honor to be there, right at your homes, leading your services and celebrating Shabbat together. We may be physically separated, but we are united in prayer. That's a beautiful feeling. Who else is here? Gloria Perdomo, Shabbat Shalom. Sid Thompson, welcome. Bonnie Robinson, weird to see you the other side of the screen, but it's great that you're there.
Who?
Bonnie Robinson.
Who?
Remember her? She used to be here.
Look, I moved on. Obviously, she has trouble letting go, but I've moved on.
Eric Green, Shabbat Shalom.
Bonnie was with me last night for Kabbalat Shabbat, Rabbi, and it was she was the first one in on the chat, and that was weird too. It was a little less weird because she's never here for Kabbalat Shabbat, but she's been with us on Shabbat mornings through this pandemic. 4 months. I think that's it. I think we've hit 4 full months of doing our services online like this now.
Wow.
And it's Leslie's first taste of it. It's great to have Leslie here. It's very cool. Yes, we wish Bonnie the best in her retirement. But I do think she is having a little trouble letting go. Maybe you should work on a sermon for her specifically.
I don't know.
I think there's a lot of wisdom that could help a lot of people. Letting go.
Now, I hope she clicks on the link when it comes to the donation part. Hi, Judy. Hi, Alan Cantor. Hi, Shelly Chachinov. It's great to see you there. Yeah, Yerach, he said, the land of Mickey Mouse. Actually, there is a beautiful teaching that I learned about a mouse that is related to this week's Parsha.
Is it Raton Perez?
I think it's Peretz, because this is from Israel.
Right. Raton Perez in Argentina, they don't do the tooth fairy.
It's the Raton Perez.
Yeah, did you know that? My students taught me that well, I asked them,
Perez mouse.
Yeah, what happens when you lose a tooth in Buenos Aires? Does the tooth fairy visit? And my students would say, no. Raton Perez.
No, but it's better
A
here.
mouse sneaks in and does what the tooth fairy does.
It's better
Very cool.
here. You get dollars.
That's true. What do you get there?
Pesos.
Pesos. But maybe it depends on what the exchange is. What's the teaching about the mouse?
Basically, because they said that the mouse had 2 different predators
Cat?
and homeowners. What's the difference between the 2 of them? See, the cat is always hoping to get a mouse,
Yep.
to confront the mouse. The homeowner is all the opposite. The homeowner wishes never to see a mouse,
Right.
but if the mouse is there, it will take care of the mouse, right? But doesn't want to see the mouse. And then basically, I learned that we human beings are like that, the same situation. Some of us are like the cat, that we wish we would find trouble. I mean, our hearts are in the right place, but we live such a way that we are looking for trouble all the time to fight for what is right. But there are other people that they live peaceful lives, and then eventually, if the problem arises, they will take care of it. But they are not going around looking for trouble. So it looks like Pinchas was like the cat. He was that kind of person. His heart was in the right place, but he was going around looking for trouble. That's why the breed Shalom.
You saw my video.
Kind of. But you know, I disagree with you in certain things, but that was a good one.
Thanks.
But it's so he needed that. So his heart was still in the right place.
Right.
But now he has the peace not to go around looking for trouble. And I believe when we come to synagogue, we should have the same attitude. Because maybe you went through the week that we had just finished, sometimes looking for trouble. Maybe not so much at work because many people are still at home, but maybe at home. And I know people that they are constantly fighting with everybody. This is the time to make a pause and to bring upon ourselves some kind of covenant of peace. So we still know that if we have a problem, we are going to take care of that. But find the peace that Shabbat brings so we won't be that person constantly looking for trouble. I hope you can reach that mindset. Today we're going to help you. We have prayers, we have some messages to inspire you, to help you bring that peace back to your existence, to get a better week, to start the new week with the right foot. So let's begin with our service. the first thing I will say that we should do sometimes to bring peace is for a moment to count our blessings. You won't believe the effect that could have on us. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Page 5, we have the Birkot HaShachar. Tons and tons of blessings. Please rise and join me. Elohai, Elohai. Hi, Corey. Neshama, Neshama. Hi, Debbie Pollack. Shenatatabi, Shenatatabi. Tehorahi, Tehorahi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan la'aseh v'yimna lev k'miyom v'layla.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani betzalmo.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorishin.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Together.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatatabi, Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokei ha'chivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish ha'arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir ha'surihim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokeif kefufim.
Amen. Elohai,
Elohai.
Neshama, Neshama, Shenatatabi, Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi.
Page 6. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa li kol tzorki.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamehi mitzadei gaber.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Israel bigevura.
Amen.
Elohai, Elohai.
Neshama, Neshama, Shenatatabi, Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Israel betifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten layaef kohach.
Amen.
One more time.
Elohai,
Elohai. Neshama.
Neshama, Neshama, Shenatatabi, Shenatatabi, Tehorahi,
Tehorai. And please remain standing for Baruch She'amar, page 7. Baruch She'amar ve'haya ha'olam. Baruch Hu. Baruch Oseh Bereshit. Baruch Omer ve'oseh. Baruch Ozer u'mekayem. Baruch merachem al haaretz. ברוך מרחם על הבריות, ברוך משלם שכר טוב ליראיו, ברוך חי לעד וקיים לנצח, ברוך פודה ומציל, ברוך שמו. And you may be seated as we continue on page 8, praising the holy name of God. Psalm 150, hallelujah. Hello, Stephen Cantor and Ellen Weston. Hallelujah, el bekocho, hallelujah, erkia uzo, hallelujah, bigurota, hallelujah, kerov gudlo, hallelujah, beteka shofar, hallelujah, benev el mechino. Together. Hallelujah, 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 betofu machol, hallelujah, beminim veuka, hallelujah, betzilzle shama, hallelujah, betzilzle trua, kolan shamate, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Please rise for the mourner's Kaddish, page 46. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash me'raba.
Amen.
Ve'alma divirach irutei ve'yamlich malchutei. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, ושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה. וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו.
Amen.
You may be seated. We return now to page 10. Second paragraph. Shochenat Marom. Hello, Jiku.
Chiku watches from India, right?
I believe so. Now, if you give me a minute, we have a request for your side. שוכנת מרום וקדוש שמו
Shochenan marom vekadosh shemo.
בפי ישרים תתהלל ודברי צדיקים נתברך ובלשון חסידים תתרומה ובקרב קדושים תתקדש. Bottom of the page, the חצי קדיש. יתגדל ויתקדש שמרבה
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימלך מלכותי
Malchutei.
וחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Yehi shmerabah mevorach le'olam ulomei hamaya yitbarach.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהלל ויתעלה ויתהלל שמך קודשה
בריחו
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תעמידם בעלמא ואמרו ואמרו
Ve'imeru, ve'imeru.
ואמרו 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 אמן.
Amen.
Please rise for an opportunity to bless the name of God, the source of all blessing. Baruch, page 12. Baruchu et Adonai המבורך.
Baruch Adonai Avorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai המבורך לעולם ועד.
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvorech osher oseh shalom uvorech hakol. You may be seated. Welcome, David. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to continue now on page 13 as we start preparing ourselves for the Shema Israel with Or Hadash, this new light. How wonderful it is to have that attitude, to constantly look at things with fresh eyes under a new light. See, sometimes we miss the point because things are a little dark. But if we can invite ourselves to look at things a little bit differently sometimes. Maybe with a more positive attitude, maybe with more understanding, things could be so much better for us. Or Hadash, top of page 13. Or Hadash, Or Hadash, Or Hadash al Zion ta'ayir.
Or Chadash, Or Chadash, Or Chadash al Zion ta'ir.
ונזכה,
ונזכה,
ונזכה כולנו, ונזכה,
ונזכה,
ונזכה כולנו, ונזכה,
ונזכה,
ונזכה כולנו, מהירה לאורו, ונזכה,
ונזכה,
ונזכה כולנו, ונזכה,
ונזכה,
ונזכה כולנו, ונזכה,
ונזכה,
ונזכה כולנו, מהירה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו,
יוצר המאורות. Page 14. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. Page 15. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Please continue silently, bottom of page 15, whole page 16 and top of page 17. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Page 17. Let's sing together words of victory, words of encouragement. Mi chamocha. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar v'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar v'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele. שירה חדשה שבקו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. Please rise. צור ישראל ומה בעזרת ישראל, ובדקינו מחיי יהודה בישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Please remain standing for the Amidah. As traditional, we are going to begin singing together the first three blessings. That is until the end of the Ledor Vador. And after that, we have an opportunity to continue silently. During that time, you can choose to use the words printed on the Sidur, or maybe you want to use your own words of prayer. This is a very important time during the service. According to the rabbis, this is the moment where we should feel that we are in front of our Creator. This is our opportunity to elevate our personal prayers, the opportunity to have a private audience with the Creator of the world. So let's start singing together on page 18, and then again we are going to continue silently elevating our prayers. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם. למען שמו ואהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מקיים את אימתה, רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מקלקל חיים בחסד, מקיים מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמנת להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. Bottom of page 20. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו, בשמך מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רש 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 גדול, אז בקול רש גדול, אז
בקול
רש 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 רש
רעש גדול,
אז
בקול רעש גדול,
אדיר וחזק
משמיעים קול,
אדיר וחזק
משמיעים קול, אדיר וחזק, אדיר וחזק, משמיעים קול,
אז
בקול
רש 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 רש
רעש גדול,
אז
בקול רעש גדול,
מתנסים
לעומת שרפים,
מתנסים
לעומת שרפים,
לעומתם
לעומתם,
ברוך יאמרו,
אז בקול
רש 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 רש
רעש גדול, אז בקול רעש גדול,
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון וקרוב בימינו, לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. ואיננו תרנה מלכותך כדבר אמור בשירי יוזך, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. Page 22. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם בעת. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך,
כי אל מלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה. כי אל מלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please continue silently. Once you complete your prayer, please be seated. Hi, Thelma. Shabbat Shalom. Rocky Pollock. Welcome. It's Shabbos. Like your Galicianer accent there. Eat Shabbos. Very good. You probably go to Shil, not to Shul, and you eat Kegel, not Google. Hi, Deborah Weiss. Shabbat Shalom to you. Welcome all. We are approaching the Torah service, but before that, we have the Kaddish Shalem. Page 32. התגדול התגדש מרבה
Amen.
נברח חטאי וימליך מלכותו ויקונו ומקונו כת כל בית ישראל בגלל זמן גרי וימרו
Amen.
יש מרבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי המאיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ותרומם ותנשא ויתהדר ותעלה ותעלה השם את הקודשה בריחולי למקור כתב ושידתה תושפקת ונחמת מרים על וימרו
Amen.
תתקבל צלותנו דאון דכל ישראל קודם אבון דבשמיה וימרו
Amen.
יש למרבן מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו Amen. Wonderful. Hi, Ariel Lee. Shabbat Shalom. Shelly Chochinov, she's Google. I guess on the internet she uses Google, but Rocky uses Giggle. Is that even funny?
No.
Hi, Josue. Welcome. Please write for the Torah service, page 33. Vayehi bin Soharon, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, Veyafutzu Evecha, Veyanuzu Besarecha, Mipanecha, Ki Mizion Tetze Torah, Ki Mizion Tetze Torah, Udevar Adonai Mirushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Israel Bikedushato. Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Ga'adol Adoneinu Ka'adol Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadelu l'Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד כי כל בשמיים ובארץ כל בשמיים ובארץ, כאדוני הממלכה, ועם יתנשא לכל ראש. רוממו,
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 אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו,
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 לאדון רגליו קדוש הוא. רוממו,
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 רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו,
והשתחוו,
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 להר קודשו, כי קדוש, אדוני אלוהינו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. רוממו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו להר קודשו.
So you can grab that mic. It can be yours, yeah. You can keep that one.
Thank you.
Please be seated. Nice job, Rabbi.
Nice job, Rabbi.
Yasher koach to you both.
Thank you. Good to be able to get through a beautiful shacharit like that. That was awesome. And now we're going to move on to the Torah reading. So you can switch over. We're going to follow along if you have it. We along with our Sidurim on our website, eszedwinnipeg.ca, we have all of we update it weekly our Torah readings for our weekday minions. Maybe you saw Leslie there on Thursday. And then we have it for Shabbat as well. And this week we are reading Parshat Pinchas, as Rabbi Mas mentioned.
Yeah, I guess some people don't know who Leslie is because they don't come during the week.
We can't hear you. You don't have your mic. No one knows what you said. There we go. Yes, that's right. We mentioned Leslie last week when we were saying goodbye to Bonnie, and maybe you've seen her. She started back in her position on Wednesday after maternity leave. This is Leslie Emery.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom.
Leslie has been involved with the synagogue for, long time. How long has it been? Do you know?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years. Teaching Bar Mitzvah lessons, reading Torah, leading family service, which we hope will come back sooner rather than later, and doing a host of all kinds of other things. She was the program director for a while. And she's been gone for almost a year, so it's great to have her back. As we mentioned last week, she is kind of trading places with Bonnie Robinson, whom we said goodbye to last week. Now she's officially retired as of Tuesday, and Leslie's officially back as of this past Wednesday. So you're going to see her, if you're used to Saturday evenings, Monday mornings, Thursday mornings, when there's Torah reading. You may also see her on Wednesday mornings, leading the minyan, and then, of course, with us on Saturday mornings. And she's going to start off our Torah reading today, which, if you have the Etz Chaim Chumash printout, is page 918. If not, and you're following in a different Chumash, we're in the book of Bamidbar, Numbers, chapter 25. Our first Aliyah will cover verses 10, 11, and 12. So we're in the middle of a chapter. Because as I mentioned a little bit in the video that Rabbi Mas was alluding to, maybe you saw it, last week's Parsha, we didn't read it, but the Parsha of Balak ends with this very violent episode. Well, first of all, Bnei Israel have been lured in. They've journeyed all the way to Moab. Right, they're on the east side of the Jordan River. They can see into the land of Canaan. They're assembling there. They're going to be here for quite some time before they actually go in, which doesn't happen in the Torah. Of course, it happens in the book of Yehoshua once we get to the Nevi'im. But here, surrounded by Moabites who worship other gods, a lot of the men are led astray by Moabite women, we are told, and they start worshiping this god Baal Peor, this fertility god, worshipped by Canaanites and Moabites and Midianites and people who live in the area. And of course we know this is a big no-no for God and for the Israelites, who are in their second generation, right? The entire first generation died out, with the exception, I guess, of Moses, who is still around, but the entire generation has died out now. There was a plague sent as part of this idolatry, and 24,000 Israelites died. What stopped the plague was at the end of last week's Parsha, this Israelite man, we're finding out his name today, took a Midianite woman, we'll find out her name, and in front of everybody watching, they went into a tent together. So everybody knew it was up. And Pinchas, Rabbi Mas was talking about this, he's a very passionate guy. He's zealous. He's got a lot of unchecked, maybe, aggression. He just flies into a rage, grabs a spear, runs into the tent, and kills them both. And this stops the plague. And that's where the Parsha ends. In the middle of this episode, in the middle of a chapter. Today we will see the aftermath. And the Parsha is named for Pinchas because he's really his name is the first word we see. And it may not sit so well with some people, but Pinchas is rewarded for this action, for this double homicide. And I talked about that a little bit in the video, and we were alluding to that there. There's a lot of interesting commentary on Pinchas, because I think it is uncomfortable for a lot of people to see what he does get rewarded. So, we'll see how that plays out over the first couple of aliyot, and then when we move into the next chapter, we move into a census. It's not the most thrilling, but there are a few interesting teachings that we can explore along the way. So, again, page 918, if you have the Etz Chaim Chumash, Numbers chapter 25, verses 10 through 12. We have a full slate of aliyot, and I'm actually going to do a little shifting around. So hopefully you're all paying attention. This is easier when we don't have to worry about people coming up. But I noticed that we have a Kohen in our midst, and we have a Levi, and so why not? For tradition's sake, shift a few things around. We've got a couple of anniversaries. We've got a birthday. We've got a few yortzites that are being commemorated. Lots of great honors for all of you for our honorary aliyot. So, Rishon, our first aliyah, is going to be Rochelle Pinkovich and Leon Pinkovich. Rochelle's a Kohen, so I'm bumping her up. Don't worry, Goldenbergs. You're coming soon. So Rochelle and Leon Pinkovich are our first honorary honorees. Again, page 918, chapter 25, verses 10 through 12. V'yazor v'yemeshil achol achosim bo v'nomar amen. Hakol avu godel Eloheinu tnuch v'l'torah. Yamdu Rachel bat Shaul HaKohenu mindel aliyah rishona. V'lei ben Asher v'Rachel. Baruch shenatan tromo Yisrael b'kedushato. Ve'atem madbegim Adonai Elohechem. Chaim kochem hayom. So I will do blessings. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Vorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. V'yidaber Adonai a Moshe lemor. Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aharon HaKohen. Eshiv et chamati me'al b'nei Yisrael. V'kano et kinati betocham. V'lo chiliti et b'nei Yisrael b'kinati. Lachen emor. Hineni noten lo. Et beriti shalom.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tocheinu. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah. A Yasher Koach to both Rochelle and Leon Pinkovich, who this morning are commemorating, or this week coming, are commemorating a very important yortzeit in their family for Leon's namesake. So Leon and his sister Miriam's grandfather and Rochelle's father-in-law, Leon Pinkovich.
Beautiful.
Great reading. Leslie, I haven't heard you read Torah in a while. That was fantastic. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
We'll continue in just a moment. Sheni, our second aliyah, And I'm making another switch. I'm moving it up. He's a Levi. He's celebrating a birthday. Feels like we should do this. Morley Rip, who's with us every Shabbat morning for who knows how far back. Can't even remember when. Probably before I started working here, before I started coming. So Morley is coming up. He's celebrating a very special birthday. And he will be our second honorary honoree. Page 919, if you're following along, verses 13, 14, and 15. I mentioned that that word shalom is written in the Torah with a break in it. We talked about one interpretation being an incomplete peace because it's based on violence, because of what Pinchas did at the end of last week's episode. And I mentioned this last night in the Kabbalat Shabbat service. Another interesting note in the Torah reading is that in Pinchas's name, the Yud is actually supposed to be written a little bit smaller. Let's see, does it look a little bit smaller?
It does.
It does look smaller, right? The idea that his inner image of God, his godliness, Yud standing for God, and maybe even his inner Yehudi, his inner Jew, are diminished, possibly, an interpretation by his actions. And that's reflected in the text of the Torah. So some very subtle nuances, but they kind of help us fill out this picture of a very difficult scenario for a lot of people to wrap their heads around, how Pinchas could be rewarded for what he did. In fact, in the Talmud it says, and I mentioned this in the video, that had he gone to the elders, had he gone to the Sanhedrin and said, look, this guy is getting with a non-Israelite woman, this is punishable by death, I'm going to go into the tent and kill them, they would have said to him, true, that's the law, but we don't follow that law. Anything to add, Rabbi? I know you look like you wanted something to add.
No, it's very interesting because actually there is an interpretation that at the end of the day, he was the only one who did something. Everybody else did nothing. And actually, God said to Moses at the end, you go tell him that I'm proud of Pinchas, right?
Right.
But why didn't God tell Pinchas directly?
Very interesting.
Because in that request, in asking Moshe to do it, there was an implicit rebuke to Moshe. I'm proud of him, not of you.
Oh.
So without saying it, it was very clear.
See, there's a lot to unpack with Pinchas. Let's keep going with our Aliyah. Again, page 919, verses 13 through 15. Continuing this idea of this brit, this covenant, this pact of friendship, some interpretations, or this pact of peace, more literally, between Pinchas and God and all of Pinchas's future descendants. We're also going to find out exactly who these two culprits were. Who was the Israelite man? Who was the Midianite woman? Pay attention to the tribe from which the guy comes. That will factor in a little later. Here we go. And our birthday aliyah, Morley Rip. Yamod Moshe ben Yosel Alevi v'Rivka Aliyah Shniya Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vaed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher ba'achar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'haita lo lezaro acharav verit kehunat olam tachat asher kinel Elohav v'chaper al bnei Yisrael v'shem ish Yisrael amukeh asher hukah et Midianit Zimri ben Salu nesivetav l'shimoni v'shem ha'isha mukah Midianit Kozbi batzur rosh umot betav v'Midian hu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betocheinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Misheperach avotenu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah hu yevarech and Moshe ben Yosel Alevi v'Rivka שעלה היום לכבוד המקום ולכבוד התורה ולכבוד השבת ולהודות על כל החסדים אשר גמלו אלוהים מיום היוולדו עד היום הזה. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור אותו ואת כל משפחתו וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיו עם כל ישראל לך ונאמר Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Morley Rip, who has come for an aliyah this morning with reverence for God and respect for the Torah and Shabbat, grateful to God for the gift of life which he has enjoyed until this day. Morley, may the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be God, continue to bless you with length of years, with good health, with the pleasures of Torah study, and with the profound satisfaction that comes from a life of ma'asim tovim, good deeds. In celebrating this and other birthdays, may your example remind us people may count the days of their life, but a person of wisdom makes every day count. Many happy returns of the day. Mazel tov, yasher koach, yom huledet sameach, happy birthday. May we have the opportunity to celebrate many more. And let us all say, Amen. Simin tovu, mazel tovu, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tovu, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tovu, mazel tovu, mazel tov, simin tov. Yehelanu, 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 ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael. Again, let us say Mazel Tov. Everyone seems to be getting their COVID birthday, right? And hopefully next year we'll be able to be together and celebrate this all in the same place. But for today, thank you for joining us virtually and have a fantastic birthday, however you spend it, whenever the actual day is. You haven't heard that about the COVID birthday? You missed it. You January birthday, you got in ahead of the curve. Like my son, you had a regular 50th birthday, and hopefully maybe by your 51st it'll be cleared. But me and May and no.
Even though now with the information that we have, it should have been canceled.
Your birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
COVID was around and nobody knew it.
Nobody knew. But you didn't really have your COVID birthday. And hopefully you won't. Maybe we'll get through it in time. But for Morley and for everybody else in the last several months, we know it's not the same. Hopefully it'll be something that we can look back on as we get things looking a little more like they used to be. But still great to celebrate a birthday. Morley has had so many birthday aliyot. I think over the 15 years that I've been here, probably every year. So it's great to continue that tradition. Let's keep going. Shlishi, third aliyah, page 919. We're going to make the transition from this chapter 25 to the next. So we start with verse 16, we go to verse 4. And now we're going to get the Goldenbergs up here. David and Barbara are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. What a milestone, especially for people that young. There's some weird math. I've been doing census math all week in preparation for the later parts of the reading, so I can't really figure out how that worked out. But 50 years is really quite amazing. Of course, David is with us pretty much every Shabbat as well, and Barbara here quite often, especially for the many simchas throughout the generations that their family has celebrated. And so what an honor to have them for their 50th anniversary. Before we call them, I told you to pay attention to the tribe. Zimri ben Salu is from the tribe of Shimon. I'll tell you why that's important coming up in a little bit. But now we're going to see, well, one of the reasons why we need a census is that for the Midianim, seducing all these Israelite men into worshiping Baal Peor, the Israelites are going to have to go to war with them. One of the reasons for a census, remember where they count all the men 20 years and up, is to get an idea of the size of their army, and it usually happens before they go into battle. That's one explanation. And we're going to see God charge the Israelites with the fact that they have to avenge this plague, this whole seduction into worshiping Baal Peor, by attacking the Midianim. So we'll see that play out here. Again, verses 16 through 4, beginning on page 919. Leslie's going to read one more for us. Yamdu Bat Zion Etel Bat Eliezer V'Chaya, V'David Ben Dov V'Yafa, L'Aliyah HaShlishit. Baruch Hu Et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Borach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'Natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, tzaror et hamidyanim v'hikitem otam, ki tzorim hem lachem b'nichlehem, asher niklu lachem al dvar peor, val davar, kozbi bad nesi midyan achotam, hamuka bayam hamagefa al dvar peor, vayehi acharei hamagefa, Vayomer Adonai Moshe Elazar ben Aharon HaKohen lemor, Seu et Rosh Kol Adat B'nai Yisrael mi ben 20 shana, V'amala leveit avotam kol yotzei tzava b'Yisrael, V'yedaber Moshe Elazar HaKohen otam barvot Moav Al Erden Yerechol lemor, mi ben 20 shana v'amala, kasher tiva Adonai et Moshe u'vnei Yisrael hayotzim me'eretz Mitzrayim.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tocheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Misheberach Avotenu Avram Yitzchak V'Yaakov Sar Rivka Rachel V'Leah Hu Yevarech Et Bat Zion Etel Bat Eliezer V'Chaya V'et David Ben Dov V'Yafa Bavur Shebau Hayom Lehodot L'Shem Kodsho Al Kol HaChesed Asher Gamal Lahem Miyom Chatunatam Umiyom Simchat Libam Ad Hayom Hazeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmerem V'Yatzilem Mikol Tzara V'Tzukah Mikol Nego Machala Bishlach Bracha V'Tzacha B'Chol Maseh Yedehem Mimkol Yisrael Achehem V'Nomar Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Barbara and David Goldenberg, who are here today with gratitude for all the blessings their 50 years of marriage together have afforded them. To both of you, we say, may the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be God, protect you and deliver you. May you continue to enjoy God's blessings in the new song of your years to come, embraced by the love of your children and grandchildren, so that you may always live in joy and gladness, sason v'simcha, and in peace and companionship, shalom and re'ut. Sentiments that were said 50 years ago when you were beneath the chuppah in the Sheva Brachot for your wedding day. 50 years later, what an amazing accomplishment. Mazel tov to you and to all of your family. And thank you for allowing us to celebrate with us this morning. Let us all say, Amen.
Amen.
Hod yishama beharei Yehuda uvechutzot Yerushalayim. Hod yishama beharei Yehuda uvechutzot Yerushalayim. Kol sason vekol simcha, kol chatan vekol kala. Kol sason vekol simcha, kol chatan vekol kala.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
The Goldenberg family has been such an integral part of Shaare Zedek for certainly the time that I've been here, for over 15 years. I'll share a personal note in a second, but just the fact that David in recent years has tried his hand at Torah reading, and he's always up for more and more Torah reading. We can't wait for an opportunity to get back together so David can continue with that, which is such a great pursuit. Of course, their sons had their bar mitzvahs here. They've had grandchildren have bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs here. And it's a multi-generational thing that is really a huge part of the life of the community here at Shaare Zedek. So it's a great honor for us to be able to commemorate such a milestone, 50 years of marriage. It's really it's really impressive and really quite amazing. Many more years. On a personal note, I will tell you that I knew David Goldenberg and I knew his mother, Sadie Goldenberg, because when I was a little guy, what do they say? Knee high to a duck. My family, we used to go to a different synagogue, the synagogue of my grandparents, which was at the time the Rosh Pina, and we used to sit for high holidays in the last row, which is where Sadie Goldenberg sat. And so they were one of those first couple of faces that I associate for me personally with synagogue life, with the holidays, and so amazing that all these years later I can be a part of bestowing these blessings on David and Barbara for their wedding anniversary. So selfishly, it's a little bit of a special, extra special moment for me. Let's move on. Rivi'i is next. Leslie and I are going to make a little switch, and I'm going to get in here to read the Torah. You can take your microphone too, because now we're going to get you to do the blessings.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. And Leslie will also be gabbing because we're going to move into the census part of this reading. You can stand here or you can sit. Bonnie used to sit. It's up to you. You can get. I have no problem. You do your thing. I'm good. I'm going to get gloves. The one thing I will tell you, a couple of interesting quick things in that Shlishi Aliyah. If it feels like, and it's sort of written in the book, like a verse kind of ends in the middle of a verse and then continues. You know, after these words, it says, Vayehi acharei hamagefa. And in some books, it writes that as verse 19, and then we go into the... It's because, and this happens in the Torah all the time, everyone pretty much agrees, that they cut the story in the middle of a sentence, put in like 3, 4, 5 chapters all about the census, and then that sentence will actually get continued in chapter 31 when the war with the Midianim happens. That's kind of neat. It's kind of neat. Happens all the time.
It's like Captain Underpants. I don't know if you read that.
I'm not big up on Captain Underpants, but please tell me how the Torah is like Captain Underpants.
They start telling the story and they say, well, because I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story.
It's like a tangent. It's exactly right. And we mentioned one of the reasons to interpolate, there's a little math word for you, the census is because anticipation of the war. Another reason, and Rashi kind of picks up on this, there's always all these metaphors connecting things to shepherds, right, and counting their sheep. And there's this idea that, you know, a plague has just ravaged the people, like a wolf going through the flock. And so the shepherd wants to count the flock afterwards to see exactly who's left. Rashi picks up on that. One of the other explanations for why a census right now is that Moshe inherited this flock when they left Egypt. He inherited it from their owner. The owner, God. What does a good shepherd do? Counts all the sheep at the beginning, and then counts all the sheep at the end when he's about to return the flock to the owner. Moshe is about to return the flock, so another explanation is that Moshe is counting to see what's happened to the flock. Remember, it's been an entire generation, so you would assume that this group would multiply, maybe even exponentially. Remember, they went from a family of 70 people in Egypt to hundreds of thousands in just a couple hundred years. It was pretty amazing. But that's not exactly what's happened here. There have been a number of plagues. Plague after the golden calf, this plague we just read about, a couple of other plagues when they were kind of grumbling about getting meat, and then there was quail, and then they ate too much quail, right? So it's very interesting to see. The total at the beginning of Bamidbar was 603,000 and change, males 20 and over. 603,550, I think, is the number. I told you, I got math on the brain. So we'll see what that number is by the end of the census as we count through all the tribes here. Beginning with Rivi'i, our fourth Aliyah, page 920 if you have it, verses 5 through 11. So I'm going to do a little more shifting with the Aliyot. We had a 50th wedding anniversary, so let's follow that up with a first wedding anniversary. Lori and Israel Ben-Nun were married last July, I believe, by my partner in crime, Rabbi Anibal Mas, and here they are. Last week we had Aaron and Emily celebrating their first anniversary. How special to have another first anniversary this week. Lori and Israel are our fourth honorary honorees. Yamduhu Sarah bar Avram v'Sarah B'Yisrael ben Chanan v'Dalia Lalia Harivi'it.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Amvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Reuven Bechor Yisrael B'nei Reuven Chanoch Mishpachar HaChanochi Lefalu Mishpachar HaPalui Lechetzron Mishpachar HaChetzroni Lecharmi Mishpachar HaKarmi Ele mishpechot haruveni vayihiyu fekudehem shlosha ve'arba elef ushva me'od ushloshim uvnei falu Eliav uvnei Eliav Nemuel v'datan v'aviram udatan v'aviram kriei aida Asher hitzu al Moshe ve'al Aharon badat Korach b'hatzotam al Adonai v'tiftach haaretz et piha v'tivla otam v'et Korach b'mot ha'eda ba'achol ha'esh et chamishim u'matayim ish v'yihiu lenes uvnei Korach lo metu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Misheberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sar Rivka Rachel v'Leah u'yevarech et Sarah bar Abraham v'Sarah v'Yisrael ben Chanan v'Dalia bavur shebau hayom lehodot l'shem kodsho kol hachesed asher gamal lahem miyom chatunatam u'miyom simchat libam ad hayom hazeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmerem v'Yatzilem Mikol tzara v'tzuka u'mikol nego machala v'ishlach bracha v'tzlacha b'chol maseh yedehem im kol Yisrael achehem v'nomar Amen.
Amen.
May God who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Lori and Israel Binun, who are here today with gratitude for all the blessings their first year of marriage has afforded them. To both of you, we are honored to say, may the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be God, protect you and deliver you. May you continue to enjoy God's blessings in the new song of your years to come, so that you may always live in joy and gladness, in peace and companionship. Mazel Tov, happy anniversary. May we have the opportunity to celebrate many, many more of these simchas together. And let us all say, Amen.
Amen.
Hod yishama be'arei Yehuda uvechutzot Yerushalayim. Hod yishama be'arei Yehuda uvechutzot Yerushalayim. Kol sason ve'kol simcha, kol chatan ve'kol kala. Kol sason ve'kol simcha, kol chatan ve'kol kala. Yasher koach to both of you. Again, happy anniversary. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
We'll continue in just a moment with Chamishi, our fifth aliyah, page 921, covering verses 12 through 22. The census starts with Reuven, Bechor Yisrael, right? The firstborn of Yaakov or Yisrael. Both names work. And it reminds us that from Reuven we had Datan and Aviram. Remember Datan and Aviram who joined up with Korach. And that episode we read a couple of weeks ago where the earthquake, the ground opens and they get swallowed up. That reading ends with such an interesting short pasuk. Uvnei Korach lo metu. The sons of Korach, however, did not die. Korach died, but not his sons. So what does this mean? Well, in the Etz Chaim, there's a fantastic note. You can go two ways with this. The first way is that in every generation there will be Korach types, descendants of Korach, quarrelsome people who intentionally miss the point, who are out to try and divide people who are kind of against the greater good. Or that the sons of Korach actually repented and learned and grew and matured. Don't forget, Datan and Aviram had a brother who's mentioned before him, Nemuel. He wasn't part of Datan and Aviram and Korach. He didn't die. He wasn't part of that. In spite of being in the same environment as Datan and Aviram, Nemuel somehow found a way to rise above it. And the other interpretation is that Korach's sons did the same thing. In fact, did you know this one, Rabbi? A couple of our Tehillim, a couple of our Psalms, are actually attributed to Bnei Korach.
Yeah, Korach Mizmor.
Bnei Korach Mizmor.
One of the days of the week that we say.
It's true. Two of the most famous of those psalms, one that we read right around with that goes with the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, and one actually, Psalm 49, which is the special psalm read in a house of mourning. These are attributed to Bnei Korach.
Lam Natseach Livnei Korach.
No one can hear you if you're not on the mic.
Lam Natseach Livnei Korach Mizmor.
That's how Psalm 49 starts. So if you've ever been to a Shiva house and you've heard at the end of a service adding in that psalm, comes from Bnei Korach, which is why I tend to lean more towards the idea, the interpretation, that they learned and grew and did not follow in the mistakes of their father. But perhaps the other option. Let's continue. Hamishi, fifth Aliyah, again 9:21, verses 12 through 22. Remember I told you that the tribe of Zimri ben Salu was important. His tribe was Shimon. If you're good with the Hebrew and good with the math, in the first census, Shimon had close to 60,000. Let's see what happens here. Our next honoree, honorarily, is Alice Weissman. Alice, I believe, is commemorating a yortzeit for her aunt and uncle, Clara Pressman Cates and High Cates. Page 921, verses 12 through 22. Tamod Sirachaya bar Avram v'Shifra l'Aliyah HaChamishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Bnei Shimon lemishpechotam linmuel mishpachat hanmueli leyamin mishpachat hayamini leyachin mishpachat hayachini lezerach mishpachat hazarchi leshaul mishpachat hashauli ele mishpachot hashimoni shnayim v'esrim elef u'matayim b'nei Gad lemishpechotam litzfon mishpachat hatzfoni lechogi mishpachat hachogi leshuni mishpachat ashuni le'azni mishpachat azni Le'ri mishpachat ha'eri, le'arod mishpachat ha'arodi, le'ar'eli mishpachat ha'ar'eli. Ele mishpachot bnei Gad lifkudehem, 40,500 bnei Yehuda, ve'onan vayamod ve'onan be'eretz Canaan, vayihiu bnei Yehuda lemishpachotam l'sheila mishpachat ha'shelani leferetz mishpachat ha'partzi lezerach mishpachat hazarchi vayihiu bnei feretz lechetzron mishpachat hachetzroni lechamu mishpachat hachamuli. Ele mishpachot Yehuda lifkudehem shisha v'shivim elef v'chamesh meot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu, Baruch atah Adonai noten
Ah.
haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Kochech to Alice Weissman, our honorary fifth honoree. So, we covered a few tribes, Shimon, Gad, and Yehudah. Shimon is interesting, right? If you did the math, a bunch of the tribes have gone down in number. A few of the tribes have gone up in number. But no tribe that has been diminished as significantly as Shimon. Close to over 30,000 fewer in Shimon this generation, one generation later. So what happened? So the tradition, the Midrash, says that why it's important that he was from Shimon, is that it was really the tribe of Shimon almost exclusively that got seduced into worshiping Baal Peor, that it was a problem for that tribe, and that Zimri was trying to kind of, one explanation is he was trying to legitimize what everyone, because he was a Nasi, he was a chieftain, what all these men in his tribe were doing by bringing a Midianite woman and bringing her into his tent in front of everybody. But that when 24,000 died from the plague, almost exclusively from the tribe of Shimon. So it's interesting to note that there is such a significant decrease in that population. And one of the explanations there from the Midrash is that was the tribe that was linked to this episode we just got through with Baal Peor. Let's continue. Our sixth aliyah, page 922, verses 23 through 34, as we continue to see more tribes mentioned in this kind of repetitive nature through the census. Our next honorary honoree for Shishi is Hanan Bell. This week, Hanan is commemorating his mother Rosebell's yortzeit. Yamod Elchanan ben Aryeh leib v'Shoshana l'aliyah hashishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Bnei Yisachar lemishbechotam tola mishpachar atolai lefuva mishpachar apuni leyashuv mishpachar ayashuvi leshimron mishpachar ashimroni. Ele mishpechot Yisachar lifkudehem arba v'shishim elef u'shlosh meot b'nei Zvulun lemishpechotam lesered mishpachat hasardi Le'elon mishpachar ha'eloni le'yachlel mishpachar ha'yachleli ele mishpachor hazvuluni livkudehem 60,500 b'nei Yosef le'mishpachotam Menashe ve'Ephraim b'nei Menashe le'machir mishpachar ha'machiri u'machir holid et Gilad le'Gilad mishpachar ha'Giladi Ele b'nei Gilad, Yezer mishpachar ha'Yezri, Lecheleg mishpachar ha'Chelki, Leve'asriel mishpachar ha'Asreeli, V'Shechem mishpachar ha'Shichmi, U'Shmida mishpachar ha'Shmidai, V'Chefer mishpachar ha'Chefri, U'Tzlofchad ben Chefer, Lo hayu lo banim ki im banot, V'Shem benot Tzlofchad, Machla v'Noach, Chogla Milka v'Tirtza, Ele mishpechot Menashe uvkudehem, Shnayim v'Chamishim, Elef u'Shva meot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. If you go back and do some checking in the numbers between the first census at the beginning of the book of Bamidbar and this census, you'll notice that of all of the tribes that increase in size, no tribe increases as significantly as Menashe. Now, I didn't do a ton of digging, but in my cursory searches, there was no real explanation given as to why Menashe specifically grew. But I guess the most interesting thing about Menashe, in addition to this fact, is this character Tzlofchad ben Chefer. Tzlofchad had only daughters. We read that here. And later in this parsha, his daughters become quite famous for coming forward to Moshe and saying, we don't want to miss out on a piece of inheritance, on a piece of land in the promised land, in Eretz Yisrael, because our father had no sons. And a special rule is made where these daughters of Tzlofchad, they get land. It's incredibly progressive. You know, there's obviously lots of moments with something as old and as patriarchal as Judaism where the Torah is not feminist, it's not egalitarian. But this is one of those moments later in this parsha, we don't read it today, where the daughters of Tzlofchad really become kind of they become champions for women's rights, and the Torah is quite progressive for something as old as it is in recognizing their rights. It's actually a very cool moment. I invite you to check it out. But Tzlofchad gets mentioned here, and he will get mentioned again in connection with his daughters who come forward as part of this kind of chunk that was interpolated here in the Torah. Yasher Koach, again to Han and Bell, our honorary sixth honoree. This brings us to our final aliyah, our Shvi'i Maftir, page 923, verses 35 through 51. We'll finish off the census here and get the total. Remember, the total from the first census was 603,000. We'll see what the total is here. Our honorary honoree for this last aliyah is Mary Hutchings, who will be chanting the Haftarah this morning. Rabbi Mas has gone downstairs to get her into the green room so we can enjoy her beautiful rendition of the Haftarah coming up. For now, our final reading from the Torah, again, page 923, verses 35 through 51. So fitting, sometimes things work out, that Mary's Hebrew name, her chosen Hebrew name, is Serach. Not Sarah, but Serach, because we will see the name, where it comes from, in this reading. I didn't even know that. I had my final note planned, and then I looked down, and it's awesome. Tamod Serach bar Avram v'Sarah, Maftirach Izki.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Vorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Levnei Ephraim, lemishpechotam leshutelach, mishpachat hashutalchi levecher, mishpachat habachri letachan, mishpachat atachani, ve'ele b'nei shutalach le'eran, mishpachat ha'erani. Eile mishpechot v'nei Ephraim lifkudehem shnayim u'shloshim elef v'chamesh meot. Eile v'nei Yosef lemishpechotam b'nei Binyamin lemishpechotam levela mishpachat habal'i le'ashbel mishpachat ashbeli la'achira mishpachat achirami lishvufa mishpachat ashufami lechufa mishpachat achufami vayihiu v'nei vela ard v'naaman mishpachat ha'ardi lenaaman mishpachat ha'naami ele v'nei Binyamin lemishpechotam ufkudehem chamishar v'arba'im elef v'sheish meod. Elevene dan lemishpechotam leshucha mishpachat ashuchami. Ele mishpechotan lemishpechotam kol mishpechot ashuchami livkudehem arba'a v'shishim elef arba meot bnei asher lemishpechotam liyimna mishpachat hayimna liyishvi mishpachat hayishvi livriya mishpachat habri livnei vriya lechever mishpachat hachevri lemalkiel mishpachat hamalkieli v'shem bat asher sarach Ele mishpechot bnei asher livkudehem shlosha v'chamishim elef arba meot bnei naftali lemishpechotam liyachzel mishpachat yachzeli leguni mishpachat haguni leyetzer mishpachat hayitzri leshile mishpachat hashilemi Ele mishpechot naftali lemishpechotam ufkudehem chamisha v'arbaim elef arba meot ele pekudei bnei Yisrael shesh meot elef va'alef shva meot ushloshim.
Yasher koach.
Baruch tiyeh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yashir kochech to Mary Hutchings, who will chant the Haftarah, as I mentioned, coming up in just a moment. If you want to get ready, the Haftarah is from the book of Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu. Now that we're on the other side of the 17th of Tammuz, we have 3 Shabbatot till Tisha B'Av, and each week we have a Haftarah of rebuke, leading up to this saddest day on the calendar, Tisha B'Av. Today is the first Haftarah of rebuke. It's the beginning of the book of Jeremiah. It's where Jeremiah gets his call. And there's a couple of very powerful images in what he sees. Jeremiah and Moses are often parallel. They have a lot in common. He's a fascinating character. So we'll get the beginning of his story. Chapter 1 in the book of Jeremiah, verses 1 through 16, page 969. Final thought on the Torah reading. I slowed down when I got to that part. It's just the way that the grammar of Hebrew works. The character, her name is Serach, but when it ends on the end of a sentence, we say Sarach. You may have heard sometimes instead of saying Shemesh, we say Shamesh, or Borei Pri Hagafen. This is just a unique feature of Hebrew. But the woman's name is Serach. Why did I slow down there? Well, obviously, there's the connection with Mary, fortuitously having the same Hebrew name. I haven't really ever spoken with Mary about why this name, but this is the reference. Serach is mentioned in the Torah in 2 places, here and earlier actually. Serach is the only female grandchild of Jacob mentioned in this entire census. Right? You notice that. Selofchad had daughters, but those would be great-grandchildren, I think, or even great-great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren of Jacob. But Asher had a daughter, Serach, and she is the only female listed in this entire genealogy. She, we are told from the Midrash, was one of the 70 in the original family who went down to Egypt. And there's all kinds of really cool stories about Serach, legends and Midrashim. One that she lived to be 1,000 years old, which is really, really cool. One that she was the first person who knew that Yosef was still alive and told Jacob that Yosef was still alive. So there's a lot of really cool traditions around this character, Serach. Other than being the only woman in this list, we're not entirely sure why she gets singled out. Maybe that's enough, but I invite you to explore Serach and find out some more of the traditions associated with this mysterious and sometimes often overlooked character. But here, with the connection to our Haftarah reader and our final honoree, very, very special. Before we get to that Haftarah, I want to thank Leslie for being our Gabbai and say Yasher Kochech for those beautiful first 3 readings, and say Kol HaKavod to all of our honorees for all of the different reasons. Great to have so many people coming forward during the week and filling up our Aliyot list. Remember, if you have a yortzeit or a birthday or an anniversary, or if you're going away, or if you've got any kind of occasion you want to mark it with an Aliyah, don't hesitate. Contact Stacy, our ritual secretary, earlier in the week, and make sure that you have a spot for Shabbat morning. And thank you for your patience as I shifted things around. For now, we invite you to rise for Hagban Galila, the lifting and tying of the Torah, and then get ready for the Haftarah on page 969. Lift. Are you ready? Okay, good. Here we go. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. You may be seated. Please get comfortable for what promises to be a fantastic rendition of this morning's Haftarah. Again, the first of 3 Haftarot of rebuke and the beginning of the story of Jeremiah, who of course is significant on Tisha B'Av because he witnessed the destruction of the first temple, and he is credited with writing Megillat Echa, the book of Lamentations, which we will be reading on Tisha B'Av. For now, we focus on the Haftarah, page 969, Jeremiah, chapter 1, verses 1 through 16. And to Mary Hutchings, Serach, we say, take it away.
Good Shabbos. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzav v'divrehem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet b'tzedek. Divrei Yirmiyahu ben Chilkiyahu min haKohanim asher ba'anatot be'eretz Binyamin asher haya dvar Adonai elav bimei Yoshiyahu ben Amon melech Yehuda b'shlosh esrei shana lemocho vayehi b'mei Yehoyakim ben Yoshiyahu melech Yehuda atom ashtei esrei shana Letzidkiyahu ben Yoshiyahu melech Yehuda ad galot Yerushalayim b'chodesh hachamishi vayehi dvar Adonai elai lemor B'terem etzarcha v'beten yedaticha uv'terem tetzei merechem hikdashticha navi lagoyim netaticha Ba'omar aha Adonai Elohim Hine lo yadati daber ki na'ar anochi Vayomer Adonai elai al tomar na'ar anochi ki al kol asher eshlachacha telech ve'et Kol asher hatzavcha tedaber al tira mipnehem ki idcha ani lehatzi lecha neum Adonai vayishlach Adonai et yado ויגע על פי, ויאמר אדוני אלי, הנה נתתי דברי בפיך. ראה, הפקדתיך היום הזה על הגויים ועל הממלכות, לנטוש ולנטוץ, ולהעביד ולהרוס, לבנות ולנטוע. ויהי דבר אדוני אלי לאמור, מה אתה רואה ירמיהו? ואומר, מקל שקד אני רואה. ויאמר אדוני אלי, בהיטבת לראות, כי שוקד אני על דברי לעשותו. ויהי דבר אדוני אלי שנית לאמור, מה אתה רואה? ואומר, סיר נפוח אני רואה, ופניו מפני צפונה. ויאמר אדוני אלי, מצפון תפתח הרעה על כל יושבי הארץ, כי הנני קורא לכל משפחות ממלכות צפונה, נאום אדוני. ובאו ונתנו איש כיסו פתח שערי ירושלים, ועל כל חומותיך סביב, ועל כל ערי יהודה. ודיברתי משפטי אותם על כל רעתם אשר עזבוני, ויקטרו לאלוהים אחרים, וישתחוו למעשה ידיהם. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך, אחר לא ישב ריקם, כי המלך נאמן, ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני. האל הנאמן בכל דבריו, רחם על ציון כי בית חיינו, ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו, ברוך אתה אדוני. משמח ציון בבניך, שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו, באליהו הנביא עבדך, ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך, במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, על כיסו לא ישב שר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו, כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן David. Al HaTorah, Ve'al Havodah, Ve'al Havim, Ve'al Yom HaShabbat Hazeh, Shanatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, L'kedusha v'limnucha, Le'chavod u'letifaret, Al HaKol, Adonai Eloheinu, Anaknu modim lach, umevarachim otach, yitbarach shimcha, befi kol chai tamid leolam vayed. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh et ha-Shabbat. Thank you.
What an absolutely beautiful, I told you it would be, rendition of the Haftarah. Yisher Kochech, Mary Hutchings, Kol HaKavod. Thank you for agreeing to do this. And
Thank you for asking.
what a just great colorful backdrop that you have there. Wonderful. We love the short hair.
It's so nice to see you, Mary. Yasher koach.
You
And
too.
a beautiful job
This
on a
is my
very
technical advisor.
important and special Haftarah. Just want to let you know, before we continue with our service, we'll be taking the Torah back to the Ark, and then we'll hear the Devar Torah from Rabbi Mas before we conclude. This evening's Minyan service, led by Leslie Emery, will be at 6 o'clock, Mincha for Shabbat, with a Torah reading as we start looking ahead to next week's Parsha. Tomorrow morning with Bill Wiseman, 9 a.m. Tomorrow night, Mincha Mariv with Bill Wiseman, 6 p.m. And then during the week, 7:30 in the morning for Shacharit, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. for Mincha Mariv, Monday through Thursday, and Kabbalat Shabbat. Next week will be at 5:30. And then next Shabbat morning, 10 o'clock, 1 week from today. Tisha B'Av is on Wednesday evening, July 29th. Stay tuned as we are planning something special. There's going to be an interactive rabbis panel over the lunch hour at 12:30 that day, ahead of the fast, involving Rabbi Mas, myself, Rabbi Cleel Rose, Rabbi Alan Finkel, and live from Israel, Rabbi Yosef Ben-Arosh. He'll be in Israel at that time. And then that evening, as part of our Tisha B'Av service, we're having something very special, an interactive reading of Megillat Eicha. Eicha, like you've never heard it before. I used to be on the radio. Can you believe that? We're having about a dozen, maybe more different readers. We've divided up the Eicha. They'll be chanting it. We'll see them all chant it. And then we'll have different rabbis, including Rabbi Mas and myself, making comments throughout. I think it's the most excited we've ever been for Tisha B'Av, not just as Shered Zedek, but maybe as a Jewish people. It's a weird thing to look forward to, but we wanted to find some way to make it a special event during these strange times, and we figured an interactive reading of Eicha, like you've never heard before, will make it just that, and we'll add a little bit of solemnity to the entire proceeding. So that's coming up a few weeks from now. For now, we invite you to rise. Oh no, wait, I almost forgot. We have to do a special Misha Berach before we take the Torah back. The Misha Berach for all those who are sick. We go back to the Siddur, page 34 in the Siddur, the Debbie Friedman version of the Misha Berach, which Rabbi Mas will lead for us in just a moment. Let me read for you the names of people we're praying for this week. And I just wanted to make an announcement. Our list for the Misha Berach, we have not touched it in 4 months. We've just been adding and adding and adding and adding to it, but it is getting very, very long. So after this Shabbat, what we are going to do is we're going to do a reset. It's just for practical purposes. We know obviously there are many people who need to be prayed for, and we want to keep doing that. We're going to do a reset, and we would like you, over the course of the week, to contact Stacy in the office, our ritual secretary, and re-add your loved ones and people you've had on the list to the list, just so we make sure that we haven't missed people who have maybe recovered or anything like that. So we're doing a reset here after 4 months. Please call us during the week, and we will continue to update the Misha Berach list. Harav Shmuel ben Bracha, Aviva bat Malka, Yaakov ben Sion ben Miriam, Yaakov Gavriel ben Esther, Daniel ben Sivia, Eliyahu ben Sarah, Esther Leah bat Nachama, Isabella bat Sarah, Pinchas ben Batsheva, Donna Barnson, Sharon bat Golda, Esther bat Leah, Chaya Zahava bat Leah, Hachazan Shefer ben Miriam, David Tzvi ben Sarah Pesel, Dina Rachel bat Sarah Esther, Shir Naomi bat Dina Rachel, Aharon ben Yamin ben Shir Naomi, Yisrael Chaim ben Shir Naomi, Yitzchak Chaim ben Sarah, Tova Yael bat Dina Rachel, Eliezer Meir ben Tova Yael, Katriel Yosef ben Tova Yael, Leah bat Rachel, Dvorah Gittel bat Leah, Binyamin Pinchas ben Dvorah Gittel, Nachum Leib ben Leah, Rina bat Ariela, Yaakov ben Henya, Ben Hurt, Shalom David ben Sarah, Stephen Lee, Atara bat Etel, Moshe Aharon ben Leah, Ariel Neshama bat Sarah, Judy Sipe, Malka bat Esther, Tzvi Aryeh ben Sharna, Leah Sarah bat Sarah, Chana bat Leah Sarah, Leah bat Sarah, Rivka bat Roberta, Bril Cohen, Devorah bat Galuta, Elokim Pesach ben Esther Pesi, Batya bat Rachel, Shmuel Leib ben Gittel, Liba bat Gittel, Chaya Leah bat Fega, Daniel ben Devorah, Batsheva bat Sarah, Talal Dalank, Douglas Foster. Rabbi.
Herbert Singer, Rose Popesky, Shayla Streifler, Lois Ackerman, Rita Vine. Mi shebeidar Avotenu Mekor Avraham Laimotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us sing Amen. Mi sheveidach imotenu Mekor Avraham lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Please rise to return the Sefer Torah to the Ark. Yehalelu, page 41. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nizkav Shemo levado. Hodo haleretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo. Teila lechol chasida, libnei Israel am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah,
Hallelujah.
hallelujah, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Etz chaimi lamachadzikim ba, page 43. V'tomcheha meushar derachea darchei noam bechol netivoteha shalom. Hashiveinu Adonai elecha v'nashuva. Chadesh yameinu, Chadesh yameinu, Chadesh yameinu, tikei. Okay, you may be seated. It's time to study a little bit more. But this time, not about the Parsha.
Huh?
No.
Huh?
You did well, so
Well, thanks.
I decided not to talk about the Parsha. Right,
I
because
exhausted you, huh?
it's because we are in a special time of the Jewish calendar.
Yes.
We started the 3 weeks. They're called Bein HaMetzarim, and in between the narrow places, or actually, in this context, Bein HaMetzarim works a little bit more as an idiom, right? It means in between the tragedies. 17th of Tammuz on one side, Tisha B'Av in the other. So that's why I wanted to bring a message that is related to that. But first, before I do that, of course, I have to share a joke with you. And this is about an old lady that she's been having back problems, like very serious back problems. She couldn't walk well, so she goes to see a specialist. And she goes to see the doctor, she enters to the waiting room, and she is all bent over, all like this, walking over her cane. She barely made it to her seat. A little while, it was her turn to be seen by the doctor. She goes to see the doctor, and after 30 minutes, she walks out, totally erect, walking perfectly straight. And then there was a lady sitting there in the waiting room. She looks at this old woman and said, "This is amazing. This is a miracle." She said, "No, this is not a miracle. So, but what did he do to you?" They said, "Well, he simply convinced me not to be so cheap and to buy a larger cane."
No.
No.
Nope. Nope.
Well,
Nope.
but I told you that because I want to talk to you today about you get what you pay for. Have you ever heard that phrase?
Yeah.
You get what you pay for?
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to talk to you about this because I've seen many times too many people living with things that they are less than God's best. You see, once maybe in the past, they were excited, they had plans, they had big dreams, they have lots of things to do. We're excited, but now things happen, maybe sometimes a few bumps in the road, a few setbacks. Things were taking too long. They lost passion, and they said, "Okay, I'll settle wherever I am now. I think it's good enough." Well, but what God wants from us is to give the 100% of our potential at every single day of our lives, all the time. See, people might judge you by your success, but I believe that God is judging you by the attitude that you bring to every day of your life. This is the interesting thing about the 17th of Tammuz and Tisha B'Av. We usually think about that as the time, 17th of Tammuz, the time that the walls of Jerusalem were first breached. And then the Tisha B'Av was the day where the temple was destroyed. But if you go to the Talmud, the rabbis actually offer a list of different things that happened during these 2 dates, and not all of them are related to the temple. For example, on the 17th of Tammuz, according to the rabbis, that is the anniversary of the day where Moses came down from the mountains after he received the tablets from God. He came down, he saw that the Israelites were worshiping the golden calf, and what did he do? He destroyed the tablets in front of them. Yes, according to the rabbis, that happened on the 17th of Tammuz. And the 17th of Tammuz is the day that we fast, and we have time during the day to think. But this is the thing. The rabbis also ask a very interesting question. Why did Moses break the tablets, after all? And they bring an amazing answer. Because they said Moses saw that because it was taking too long for him to come back, the Israelites forgot about all the greatness of the promise of God, and they settled with the golden calf. So Moses realized that most likely this is going to happen again in the future. As soon as they will have a setback, a disappointment, something will take too long, they might even start worshiping the 2 tablets that he was about to offer to them. So Moses realized that they were not ready for the next step, so he destroyed these tablets. And of course, that generation, those people who worshiped the golden calf, were punished. But this same attitude actually also happened to Moses. I don't know if you remember the episode where he's supposed to talk to the rock, but instead of that, he hit the rock. And Moses was punished because of that. You know what happened? Same thing. Moses took the easy way. Instead of talking to the rock, because you know how it works, right? Even in human relationships. Sometimes it's easier to hit the other person, to punch him in the face, than to establish a dialogue. Why? Because the dialogue takes time. It's a long back and forth. And we don't want to do that. Even though we know it's the best way, we don't want to take the best way. We take the easy way out. And that's exactly what Moses did. Why would I talk to the rock? Instead, I will hit it. It's faster. It worked, yeah, but that's not God's way. And Moses should have known that. Same thing happened with the 12 spies. When they go to tour the land of Israel, when they came back, 10 of them said, no, let's stay where we are. This is easy here. We have manna. We have a cloud over our heads. Why do we have to complicate our lives and to go to the promised land? This is good enough. And they were punished. So I think the 17th of Tammuz, yes, it brings a connection with the temple. But it's also bringing an amazing teaching that we can use every day of our lives. So for me, what I learned from this is that we have to learn that there is no such thing as staying where you are. It doesn't work. Life doesn't work that way. Because even if you think it's safe to stay where you are, yeah, you may say to yourself, I know enough about this. I got enough of that. Life, the world around you, keep moving, keep evolving. So if you think you're staying where you are, in fact, what you're doing is de-evolving. Does it work? Right. Mm-hmm. You're going backwards. These are words of encouragement to keep moving forward and to keep giving the 100% of your potential every single day of your life. So my question for you today is, have you settled life saying to yourself, it's good enough. I want to stay here where I am now. I'm comfortable. That's not, I believe, that's not the Jewish way. Because I believe the 17th of Tammuz is a reminder that we should never take the easy way. We should always take the best way, and that is God's way. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. Beautiful Devar. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Even though you didn't like the joke, that's okay. I forgive you.
I never like your joke, really.
I know.
A couple weeks ago you had one that was pretty good. Aleinu, page 44.
Yes, please rise. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו, ושכינת עוזו, וגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו וזולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום ושבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת. אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו
We invite you to remain standing for the Mourner's Kaddish, which is on page 46. This week we mourn the passing of Gloria Brown and offer our heartfelt sympathy to Susan and Bruce Rosner and Rhonda Bland. We as well extend our condolences to the family of Barry Lank, who are still in Shloshim, the first month of losing their loved one. And this week we commemorate the yortzites of Joseph Chula, father of Glory Fleischer, Cecile Meyerowitz, mother of David Meyerowitz, Jack Neiman, father of Barb Neiman and Dale Neiman Marcus, Slayton Morey, son of Barry and Eve Ginden and brother of Roxanne and Elia, Clara Pressament Cates and High Cates, aunt and uncle of Alice Weissman, Rose Bell, mother of Hannon Bell, Leon Pinkovich, father-in-law of Rochelle Pinkovich and grandfather of Leon and Miriam, Barnett Yellen, husband of Penny Yellen, and Mamie Kreitberg, mother of High Kreitberg, all of blessed memory.
We had one more, but the computer crashed.
For today, for the 19th of Tammuz?
Yeah, somebody
coming
typed
up.
it at the beginning of the service, but the computer crashed. So, oh my goodness. Let's see if I can find it. Nope. It's gone.
Oh, it's too bad.
So if there is somebody else, please, if you can type it now, we'll give a minute.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll recite the Mourner's Kaddish together on page 46.
Okay. Big crash in the computer. Norman Roy, Zichrono Livracha.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'alam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, v'yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Do you want to finish there, or do you want to do Adon Olam?
Let's do Adon Olam.
You want to do Adon Olam? Which version of Adon Olam would you like to do? Please be seated, everybody. Don't forget, Minyan tonight at 6, tomorrow at 9 and at 6. And next Shabbat, Kabbalat Shabbat, 5:30 next Friday with me. And 10 o'clock next Saturday morning with all three of us.
Okay?
It'll be very cool. So which one do you want to do?
I kind of like Zim.
You're liking the Saul Zim version, huh?
Yeah, let's do it for a while.
Okay.
We have seasons.
Seasons of Love?
Seasons of Zim.
Oh.
We did the Zim Amida today, so
Yeah, for sure. Seasons of Love is like, what is this like? 120. I actually hate Rent. It's terrible. I mean, some of it's kind of good, but anyway. Do you know that song? No, you don't. It's a popular song. What am I thinking? Adon Olam, page 47.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי בין הכוסי ביום אקרא אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא בידו הפקיד רוחי ואת תישן ואירה ועם רוחי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא אירא אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא
Shabbat Shalom Umvorach, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
Shabbat Shalom.
Stay safe. Hope to see you soon in person. Boom.